Hello, I'm Dr. James Bogash, expert in health and longevity and creator of Bogash Life and Balance. And today we're going to talk about a very exciting topic for me, one that I talk about frequently and one that is forever changing, and that has to do with the gut microbiome and specifically Akkermansia mucinophila. Mucinophila. And while that's a very long name, Akkermansia is certainly the easier part to pronounce, but I've frequently said that we will never find one particular bacteria that does this. So take this as a supplement and we'll provide these miraculous outcomes. We just don't see that. But sometimes things rise to the top and have a pretty dominant place in the medical literature supporting either benefits or bad sides. So nothing changes as far as what the importance of diversity in the microbiome. That's what I've always said. We want 1,000 different species growing, not 100. And nothing destroys that like antibiotics do, which is why it's so incredibly disruptive to the microbiome that even years later, the gut microbiome hasn't recovered. So this review has to do with Akkermansia, and it's one of those bacteria that has come up again and again in the medical research for showing reducing effects or lowering risk of obesity, as far as lowering inflammation, as far as type 1 and type 2 diabetes. That's a pretty important factor because type 1 has aspects that are different than type 2. And so obesity, metabolic syndrome, so prediabetes and diabetes as well. So it's a pretty powerful bug that we want growing in our gut. And that's why things like a high-fat diet and alcohol actually reduce levels of Akkermansia, which is not a good thing. And interestingly enough, so what have I seen over the years that studies that have shown to increase Akkermansia? And that's things like calorie restriction, cold exposure. So even like 60 degrees for 6 hours a day can change our gut bacteria. We don't even have to take anything or change anything, just expose yourself to more cold, and that's going to change your makeup of brown fat to white fat. You're going to burn more calories just from being exposed to more cold. More cold exercise, very strong association between athletes and levels of Akkermansia. Dietary intake of polyphenols, so everything we think, berries, tea, particularly we've seen studies on cranberry that had a pretty notable increase in Akkermansia. But there are some supplements that are designed to increase Akkermansia. I've never really come across a lot of supplements that are specific to Akkermansia, so I think our general best bet is to have a lifestyle that increases levels of Akkermansia. Interestingly enough, the anti-diabetic drug metformin actually increases Akkermansia levels. So maybe these drugs aren't working the way we think that they are. Maybe they're actually having an impact on the gut microbiome, and that is then having an impact. Certainly something interesting to think about. I would, of course, rather see us improve Akkermansia levels from all these other things that I've listed. But just wanted to bring this to your attention. If you happen to be on Jeopardy and they ask about the one bacteria that's been linked to lower rates of diabetes and obesity, you can say that Akkermansia mucinophila is on that list. So, as always, I'll post a link to this particular review study in the description. Make sure you like this video, share it with somebody who you think needs the information, and subscribe to the channel.